Hello and welcome to your next Life Sciences lesson. Today we are going to be looking at the topic of plant anatomy. We're going to start off with a question to focus our minds. Why do the different parts of a plant look different if they are all made of plant cells? This is the concept map showing what we are covering under plant anatomy. We did start looking at plant anatomy. In our last lesson, we looked at roots, and today we are going to be doing the next two topics, stems and leaves. However, we need to start by revising the types of cells that we would find in a plant. So, let's revise the different types of plants or the different types of cells. In every plant, we have some cells which are meristematic. Remember, they keep dividing, and they're like tiny baby cells. Then, on the outside of each part of the plant, we have epidermal cells. Sometimes they have a cuticle, which is waxy to prevent water loss. Sometimes they have root hairs, and we talked about those in the last lesson because they are found on the roots to absorb water. Many epidermises also have openings in them called stomata. And those are little openings through which a leaf and a stem can absorb gases. Then, most of the inside of a plant is filled with something called ground tissue. And these are ordinary cells that carry out many different functions. The most common type is parenchyma, and that is parenchyma. Large cells with thin walls. They're great for storage, but not very good for support. If the plant needs support, it will have collenchyma cells, for example, those which have thickened corners for strength, or if it really needs lots of strength, they would have sclerenchyma cells, which have walls that are thickened all the way around. Then, the last two types of cells are your vascular tissue, which is xylem and phloem. Here is the xylem, and its function is to transport water. That is the phloem, and the phloem's function is to transport food that has already been manufactured around the plant. We also need to revise, what does a plant look like? What is it made of? And right in primary school, you looked at something like this. Plants have roots, stems, and leaves, and at certain times of the year, they will also have flowers. Now, every single one of these has got a specific function to carry out. In the last lesson, we looked at the root with its functions of anchoring, water absorption, and food storage. What we're going to look at today is the stem, and most stems grow upright, so they would need to support the plant. If we look at this plant is standing upright, and it also is going to need water coming from the soil to go up the plant. So, what types of tissues would we need to find in each of these parts of a plant? A stem If its function is support, what types of cell is it going to need? Parenchyma or sclerenchyma. If its function is transport, what is it going to need? Xylem and phloem. So what we're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at what do we find in a stem. Not only what types of cells do we find, but where they are. In other words, how they are arranged. Before we start going into detail, let's take a break to make sure your brains are fresh for the next section.